from our Lord and Savior Jesus, who is the Christ. So we're going to go on a little trip this morning. Are you ready? We're going to go all the way back to middle school, junior high. Anyone remember that time? Or are you personally kind of like me and you tried to block all memories of that point out of your mind? Well, even though I may have tried my best to do that, there is something that I distinctly remember from growing up. And that was when it came to games of pickup sports, I was usually chosen to be on a team, usually dead last, was when I was chosen to be on a team. Perhaps that's, because when I was growing up, I was a rather clumsy and awkward kid, especially when it came to things like running, jumping, kicking a ball, hitting a ball, putting a ball into a hoop. You know, the physical stuff that it actually takes you to be good at sports. Well, what I lacked in ability, though, I made up for in enthusiasm for playing the game, which then that ensured that I got picked, not always last, but maybe near the end. I got picked a little higher in the order. Perhaps that's something that you've experienced too. Something being chosen specifically for something was not something that I often experienced. So today in our gospel reading that Allison read for us, we have a treasure trove of goodies, all of these great statements from Jesus. It's like the greatest hits of Jesus all laid out for you there, right? Abide in my love. Love others as I have loved you. Greater love has none than this, than one would lay down one's life for one's friends. I've appointed you to go and bear fruit. Are you feeling overwhelmed yet? So all of these good things, of course, means that I've obviously taken the opportunity to write a 30-minute plus long sermon so that we can cover them all in one go, right? Don't worry, I'm kidding. I'm joking. When you actually have this much good stuff, it's really easy, and you can actually be a little more discerning about what is the most good of all of the good news. And to be honest, these statements that I mentioned aren't it. And here's why. So, did some of you, when you heard those statements read, kind of feel a little leap in your heart like, oh, this is something I can do, or this is something that I can do better or work on or fix? Did anybody feel that? Because when we get these statements from Jesus, these statements allow room for us to create standards, to make measurements, to even then perhaps get into the territory of condemnation and even judgment based on these phrases. That's weird, right? Well, let me show you what I mean. Take abide in my love, for instance. We hear that, and sometimes we hear it as a command, that then suddenly maybe we aren't abiding in Jesus' love right, or even loving one another. Oof, that's a tough one. Especially when you tag on there that we're supposed to love one another as Jesus has loved us. I mean, I know that I'm pretty good at loving, but that other person out there, it's debatable. So you see, there's room in there. There's room where we can create these unwritten rules about how we live these out. We can start to compare ourselves to one another about how we're living them out. We can even start to beat ourselves up and get harsh on ourselves about whether we're even Christian enough for following these out. When you think about these phrases, we start to show that our weaknesses, the places where we fall short. This is why we can't have nice things, folks. So today is an important day in our congregation. At 11 o'clock, we're going to celebrate confirmation. 4 of our young people are going to confirm their faith. They're going to say yes. And confirmation has this choosing aspect to it, this fact that they're going to choose to say yes to this faith that they were baptized in. Well, part of confirmation, at least as how I've experienced it, is this process of preparing in terms of choosing some verses that become your confirmation verses. For example, mine was Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, he will make your paths straight. I remember choosing this verse because I was at a crossroads when I got ready to enter into high school. I had a choice that I had to make. Was I going to go out for the football team and play sports like I had done in junior high? Or was I going to play and be a part of the band as I had also done in junior high? I was able to do both, but in high school I had to do one or the other. So when I started to look at football, go back to what I said previously about being awkward and clumsy and not very good at sports, and pair that with the fact that I was moving into a big 5A school, which if you're not very familiar with Texas, 5A is the biggest designation of the biggest school with the biggest student pool. So moving into a high school that size guaranteed that I was going to probably have about 0 minutes of playing time during my 4 years of playing football. So I chose band because I knew that I would have more value on that team, that I would be able to make a bigger contribution and feel valuable, and I would have more fun doing it. And so there's not only this process of where I chose my verse, our confirmation students choose their first, but for some people, confirmation, their verses are chosen for them, which is actually a part of this tradition of confirmation that I love, is people getting a verse chosen for them. I think that's really cool. So you may be sitting there thinking, well, I didn't grow up Lutheran, and I haven't been confirmed, so what does that have anything to do with me? Well, here's the thing. I am willing to bet that you probably have some favorite verses of your own. Those ones that you return to over and over and over again. The ones that you go to when you're feeling worried, when you're feeling stressed, when you feel down and you need a pick-me-up. Those verses that really speak to you. And sometimes we choose those verses because of something that's going on. We go into the Bible and we look for the verses that can help us with that. But then there's often times where verses are chosen for you by whatever big event is happening in your life and in your faith. And whether you choose these verses or the verses choose you, it reminds us of something this morning. A few things, in fact. One, it reminds us that we're actually living out what Jesus talked about in our gospel text, that we are abiding in his love, that we have a relationship with him. And it also reminds us of the fact that this faith that we share has changed us, has shaped us, has influenced us, and will continue to shape and to change and to influence us. And there's something else that changes us in a pretty profound way, and that's being chosen, which is where we encounter the best of the gospel lesson this morning. Tucked in among all these really memorable phrases from Jesus, all of these different things that are awesome and great to hear. Have I mentioned that they're great? Tucked in among all of those is this little phrase: you didn't choose me, I chose you. Jesus reminds us this morning as his disciples, I chose you. I choose to give you my love. I choose to call you a friend. I choose to let you in on all of this different stuff that I'm doing. I choose you. You didn't have to earn this love. You didn't have to do the right thing for it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to work for it. You don't ever have to work for it. I chose you. So my first summer working summer camp was in 2006 when I graduated from high school. I joined the staff at Luther Hill Ministries, which is out of LaGrange, Texas, as a cabin leader, which meant I spent the majority of my weeks during the summer with a group of about 10 boys or so. And I would stay in the cabin with them at night. I would take them to meals, eat meals with them. I would go to activities, do activities with them, lead them in Bible study. You know, all the different things that you think about when you think of a person working at summer camp. And each Sunday of our summer, we would come in after the weekend for a staff meeting. We would worship together as a staff. We would kind of brief about what the week was going to look like, and we would receive our assignments. Well, it was a couple weeks in when during this staff meeting, my program director, my boss, my direct boss, called my name that he wanted to see me after the staff meeting. Of course, my first mental thought was, uh-oh, what did I do? But as the meeting dispersed and I went up and I started talking with him, I actually found out that it wasn't about me or anything that I had done, but it was about one of the campers that I was going to have that week. The program director let me know that one of the campers I was going to have that week was on the autism spectrum. And so he wanted to give me some tips and tricks, some things to be aware of, some things to help my week go smoothly. And then he let me know that I had actually been chosen to work with this specific group of boys because of my abilities, because of the patience that I had shown, because of the energy that I had. I had been chosen. So the week went really well. I quickly learned how to help make this camper feel comfortable, and not only to help him feel comfortable, but to be able to help out and to serve. He was a whiz with numbers and with time, so quickly he became our group's timekeeper, our schedule keeper. He would let us know when it was time to leave for activities, and he kept us on schedule, and we were never late that week. In fact, I think we were actually early most of the time, but that was good. I also put him in charge when it was our turn to set up the dining hall for a meal. I put him in charge of making sure that we had enough place settings because he knew how many place settings we needed and how many tables and how many plates, and he got it. So he was in charge of that. Well, another part of our summer camp weeks actually came at the end of the week. We would have a talent show where kids would sign up and share their talents with everybody as an opportunity to lift them up. When the time came that week for us to sign up, this camper, the camper that was on the autism spectrum, he wanted to sign up. He wanted to sign up and he wanted to sing. And I said, okay, what do you want to sing? He replied, "What a friend we have in Jesus." And not only did he want to sing, but he wanted me to sing with him. Which then, I responded, well, I don't know the verses. I'll need to go find a hymnal or I'll need to look up the verses, but I'm willing to sing with you. And he reassured me that he had it. And he asked for a pencil and some paper. So I dig around in my backpack, I pull out a couple small pieces of paper and a pencil. And during our rest time that afternoon, he went and he lay down on his bunk. And he proceeded to write out all of the verses to "What a Friend We Have in Jesus" by memory. And so when the time came for us to sing, it was actually pretty comical because you had me standing up there just staring at this piece of paper, singing with him, but then you had him singing. And he sang from the heart, every word, no accompaniment, no notes, no nothing. Knew every single word. And he didn't sing with a lot of show, but he sang in a very simple, straightforward way that showed the deep and the abiding relationship that he had with Jesus. I still don't know. I still don't know to this day why he chose me, but I'm forever glad that he did. We don't always know why Jesus chooses us, but that doesn't erase the fact that he does, that he chooses us. I chose you. And not only that, but he chooses to be our friend, and what a friend we have in him. An example, a great example of love and service. One who chooses to come and to take on flesh and blood, to live with us, to walk with us, to be with us, to stay with us always. One who calls us constantly to be more, to do more than we could ever thought possible, and to give us the strength and the grace and the love to do that, to follow that call. Calls us to come and join and be a part of this kingdom work, walking and working side by side with him to love others as they have loved us, as he has loved us. I choose you, my beloved child. You didn't choose me, but I chose you. Thanks be to God. Amen.